Well, the Georgia Bulldogs are ranked number one in the country again this today, Sunday, and so I think the question is that where they belong? Is that who should they be the number one team in the country? So just to review real quick, Georgia with a 42-10 win over the Auburn Tigers, team that's a long way from where they really need to be. But Georgia took a 14-0 halftime lead and just exploded on Auburn in the second half to make the lopsided win out of question who was going to win that game in no time in the third and fourth quarter. But and then Ohio State had a solid victory on the road against Michigan State, another team that's not so hot. This is really a reactionary thing to Alabama. I'll tell you, I did not think that Alabama would lose the number one spot. Not only did they lose the number one spot, they fell all the way to three. So we have a strange dichotomy right now in college football. Not only where you have um, two different number ones, that happens, but you, you have uh, a number one and a number three. I mean, so Ohio State, to me, I would put them in front of Alabama. And I think if you want to decide which of the two between Georgia and Ohio State that you consider the best team in the country, then you do that. That Alabama has 35 number one votes in the coaches poll. Y'all aren't paying attention. I mean, I don't know who really fills out those things. You can say it's the sports information directors. They see plenty of football. They're not idiots. They know what they're talking about for the most part, but you're just wrong. And uh, I, right now, you can't really justify putting Bama over over Ohio State or Georgia to me. So I think the media's got it right here. So Georgia took over the number one spot in the media poll. Again, I've said this several times at Dog Post. Kind of have to pick which one you're going with until the playoff gets here. We stick with the AP poll. It's a media poll. We're in the media. That's what we do. So I've always done the AP poll. Make sure you're picking up DAWGSTRUCTION. We had a lot of orders over the weekend. Right now, if you order, you're going to get and you email. You got to email me. You're going to get a Red Zone T-shirt. Our friends at Red Zone had a really very busy weekend for Auburn weekend. Make sure you're picking it up. It's down below. I send these out very quickly. I can. I need you to email me immediately when you order the book. I appreciate everybody who's been ordering it lately. We've had a bit of a surge here lately, but this is I wouldn't say it's a conundrum. I think you've got three top teams. I wonder if you've got two top teams. I don't think so. I think you've got three. I wonder if you've got two. And then you've got a group of teams right after that that are knocking on the door. And to me, the team that looks like the fourth best team this second is either Tennessee or Michigan. Now, SC and Clemson have both, Clemson's playing better these last 2 weeks, but they nearly lost to Wake Forest, double overtime. Tennessee's not nearly lost. They've lost, well, they almost lost it overtime to Pitt. So, Michigan's been the cleanest of the bunch. I'm not sure why you'd move Clemson above Michigan, but okay. I watched USC last night. I thought they were fine. They're just kind of going through their season. Teams like Oklahoma State, Mississippi. I mean, Ole Miss is not really going to get challenged until much later in the season. And you know, this is a Ole Miss team that, I mean, they should handle Auburn easily. I would imagine they're hosting them. Then they go to LSU. That's a game they should win. I'm not saying they should blow out LSU, but they're better than LSU is. And then they go to Texas A&M. I don't know what Texas A&M's shape is going to be like when you know Ole Miss shows up, but the Rebels close like this. They close LSU, A&M, Alabama, Arkansas, and Mississippi State. They're not going to survive that schedule. So but I do think Ole Miss has gotten out to a great start. Penn State, I never believe in Penn State until I have to. So we still got a long way to go. And then UCLA at 11 and Oregon at 12, TCU at 13. So Oregon above TCU with the one loss, but the one loss was to Georgia, although it was a total beating. I do think that Georgia should be ranked number one, but I think if you go by the eye test, Ohio State should certainly be getting some looks. This coming week is going to be so informative to what we are doing from here on out because mainly just because of the Tennessee Alabama game, which will be going on exactly when Georgia is throttling Vanderbilt. So we've got an interesting week of football, and we've got a you know we've got a pretty good setup in a way. You've got Thursday night on Fox Sports One. You've got Baylor at West Virginia. Baylor kind of needs to regroup. But then right off the bat, Penn State goes to Michigan. That is going to be a big game on Fox. That won't win the weekend, but it could come close. And then you've got, hey, Oklahoma, welcome to ESPN2. That's where you're going to be playing the rest of your games this year. They're going to host Kansas. I don't know who's favored in that game, but and then the Rebels play Auburn at noon as well. You got Texas and Iowa State on ABC, so it's a good start to the day. And then you've got the number one team in the country, Georgia, playing at 3:30 at the same exact time. You've got Alabama going to Tennessee. That is the game of the year so far. I mean, when you talk about a Notre Dame and Ohio State to open the year, when you talk about Alabama and Texas, those built to where we're at right now. And right now, where we're at is Tennessee's won enough games that you have to take them seriously. They did not look great against Florida. They won that game. They obviously nearly lost to Pitt, but they won that game. They are capable of winning every game they play from here on out. After they play Georgia, the schedule falls off a cliff. I don't see how I mean, UT Martin, they will kill them after they play Alabama. Kentucky's not sticking with Tennessee. Not this Tennessee team. They got to go to Georgia. They will crush Missouri, you would imagine. I don't buy that South Carolina right now. I don't buy that South Carolina can beat Tennessee, but Carolina is 4-2. Somehow they are 4-2 with a bad loss to Georgia and really not an overwhelmingly competitive loss to Arkansas. That's Arkansas's only conference win right now is South Carolina. So it's right in front of Tennessee. Can they manage this? Can they, not? I mean, they had the overtime win against Pittsburgh and a 5-point win against the Gators. And I know, Florida kind of played that game not well, but I mean, that game was really tight for no reason. Tennessee should have won that game going away. Okay, NC State at Syracuse. That's actually a really big ACC game. I know we're not supposed to talk like that, but that's on their digital network. So you're going to need cable for that deal. And then at night, night, I'm just looking very quickly. Night is not nearly as good as it was last week. You do have SC going to Utah. They can lose that game. You have Clemson going to Florida State. They can lose that game. I don't think either of those teams will lose those games, but they could. And then, just for my fun, you've got San Jose State at Fresno kicking at not quite 11, and then Air Force and UNLV that kicks at 10:30. I'm always intrigued with Washington State at Oregon State, but that's me. I think Georgia should be where they're at. I think they are appropriately ranked, and this is I know a lot of AP. I know a fair amount of AP voters, and you're no longer in the position where you're just going to flip teams because they didn't play well. Now we're at the point where you have half the season gone. I mean, Georgia's played 6 games. They are eligible for a bowl. So, we're at that point right now. So what you did against, Kent State, that's not going to matter as much. What happened with Missouri? Now you've got 3 Power 5 games that Georgia's played in. No, they played in 4. They played in 4 Power 5 games, and they have blown out 3 of those teams. So When you look at it that way, no, everybody's not doing that. Now, again, Ohio State is the real deal. It looks like they are off this week, and we will see what happens with them. They definitely had a harder time with Notre Dame than you would have liked, 21-10. But ever since then, they're scoring not fewer than 45 points in a football game. The criticism, which I think is legitimate, like if Georgia's criticism is they had to come from behind to win at Missouri. The criticism for Ohio State is they've really just not played anybody good. Notre Dame is not great. Arkansas State, no. Toledo, no. Although they scored 77 points. Wisconsin just fired their head coach. Rutgers, no. Michigan State, these teams are not good. I mean, Rutgers is 0-3 in the league. Michigan State is 0-3 in the league. So that's 0-6. And you got Wisconsin, who's 1-2. So in that league, you're talking about Ohio State's defeated teams that are combined, if my math is right, 1-8. So that it's hard to really take that seriously. But and Iowa's not good either. Newsflash, they are 1-2 in that league. So it's back loaded for Ohio State. Everybody there, it's basically just who's going to come and win the Michigan Ohio State game. Does Penn State enter into this? It's hard to say they really do right now. I mean, they beat Purdue by 4. They beat Northwestern, the European champions, who have one win the whole season. They beat them by 10 at home. I mean, it's not been impressive, but it doesn't matter about impressing. You do need to play well, and I don't know. Georgia is. Um, And I want to see what happens with Vanderbilt, but Ohio State could, ascend to the number one spot. But I think right now the media's got it right. I think the coaches got it wrong. I mean, Alabama should not be the number one team.